Hi guys, and welcome back to the Academy of Historical Fencing. This isn't so much going to be a review but a first impression video, as the Neyman fencing gloves turned up today. So I'm going to show them today and review them a bit more, or a bit better, as I've actually used them properly. But they're very new on the market and I think people will want to know about them, even just from a first impressions video. And I also have the first generation coning gloves to compare them against, which is at least reasonably useful. I've had some more use out of these now, so I can talk about them in comparison to each other. First impressions out of the box, they look really nice, nice and professional. Lots of colour options, so that's quite nice. The thumb is really nicely protected, including the base of the thumb, so that's really good. In comparison to the conings, because I think this thing you're really going to want to know about, because the coning is, I would say, going to become one of the sort of standard gloves of HEMA in the next sort of year or so, or already is possibly in some places. It's not quite a fair comparison because this is the coning glove that they released on launch, and of course they've already started producing the smaller version that's in black, which of course is better, and is smaller and more slimline. So obviously when they arrive and I've got those on order, I will do a review of the current coning model against the Neyman gloves. But so far, thumb protection is pretty similar on both. Although I would say the coning glove, that's a little bit more slimline. Even though the glove is larger all around, the thumb is a little bit more slimline on the coning, despite the fact the protection levels seem about the same. The length of the glove is roughly similar, but as you can see, the width, the coning glove is a lot wider than the Neyman. The fit and finish all seems good. The thing that is most significant, and this is the issue with gloves, fingertips. The biggest problem we've always had with gloves is the fingertips, which is why people have modified or created various kinds of fingertip protectors. And the issue there being is that no matter what protection you have on top of the finger, you can still get compression injury where the finger gets crushed between, say, the hilt of your sword and the blade that's just hit the top plate. So what you really need is something to support the sides and potentially the tip, which actually provides protection from that compression of the plates, whereby basically the plate crushes your finger. They don't have those, and that is significant. Whereas the coning glove has protectors built in that wrap all the way around the front of the fingertip, so the tip and the sides of the tip all the way. So they'll protect not just the tip on the coning, but the compression protection of the fingertips, which I'm sure any of you that have done a lot of HEMA practice have probably had black fingernails and lost a few nails over time. I certainly have, and that's largely why. So in terms of fingertip protection, the coning is going to be a lot better. There's no doubt about that. You could of course add some kind of fingertip protectors to these, which I've seen people have varying success with, but out of the box, much better fingertip protection on the coning. The wrist is more substantial on the Neyman glove. Is with the coning glove, it's leather, it's not plated like the rest of the glove. The rest of the glove has hard plastic plating in, whereas it's just leather and whatever this inner material is. So it's quite soft on the cuff, which I think is enough protection for the wrist. But if you wanted more, this has got that really hard rubbery type stuff that, say, the Sparring Glove Company use and Neyman do as well. So yeah, the cuff is more substantial, stronger on this, whilst the movement seems roughly similar. I notice, because Mike, the other instructor in the club, has also bought a pair of these, and we've got two different versions of lace up here. I've got actual laces, and he has this kind of double Velcro system, and I get the impression that double Velcro system is probably the newest version, which I think is a bit nicer, but I don't know which way they've done that, but I would say, yeah, I think the Velcro one is a bit better. Right. In terms of protection for the back of the hand, I think both of them are going to be absolutely excellent. They got really strong protection all the way along the top of the hand. I said about the fingers, the big difference of course on the top of the fingers is you've got these various plates on top as opposed to the smooth finish of the coning, and all of the plating inside the coning is fitted inside, so you can't actually see all the separate pieces, which is a massive advantage in many regards. One of the things that anybody who's had gloves like say the Red Dragons will know is that if you have plates like these, they snag on things. They snag on swords, blades, and on quillons and all kinds of things. so they'll be prone to trapping things and potentially being ripped off. So that's certainly an issue. Whereas the coning, providing this provides good grip over time, and I haven't worn these in enough to really tell, and I still think they need to be smaller before I can. If the coning works comfort-wise over time, then this will be a better system. Right, what else is there to say? Yeah, one of the biggest points I would say on gloves is weight. Is pretty much everything we're doing is practicing unarmoured combat, and therefore we want something on our hands which represents unarmoured combat as much as you possibly can, so as light as possible, and of course as flexible as possible. And the one thing I was a little bit disappointed with the coning is that it is heavy. It comes out around 600 grams, which is really quite substantial. Now, of course, the new generation should be lighter because it's smaller, so it should come down at least some way from that. So hopefully we'll see on that new edition. Whereas the one thing these really have in their favour is they come out at 300 grams, so they're pretty much half the weight of the coning glove, and that takes them not far off a night sharp, Red Dragon glove. So in that regard, the weight is fantastic. These are really, really light. So I really like that element to them. On to actually using them as swords. Now, of course, these kind of gloves for longsword, there's so much space on your hilt, particularly with the feathers everyone's using, that doesn't matter. Any of these are going to work. But what about when you've got something with less hilt space? And we're talking about sabers, for example, obviously arming swords and all kinds of things that have a bit less hilt space. Some open side swords as well. Is how is it going to work? Because Neyman Fencing have released two versions of this glove, a light and a heavy. The light has sort of single piece protective pieces over the fingers as opposed to these overlapping plates, which are designed to go in a bowl hilt saber like that, or into a rapier or a side sword. Well, I don't think you really need a heavy glove for rapier, but for a lot of side swords you do. And then they produce a heavy model like this, which is designed for everything that doesn't have a bowl hilt or substantial complex hilt. And this is the kind of sword that you really need a heavy glove for. Red Dragons aren't enough, even though that's what I currently use. So we need a heavy glove that's going to work for longsword, and at the same time works for something like this. And can it work? This is my Swordsmithy Saber, which is one of my current sort of favourites. And the answer is barely. Now, of course, if I was going to have another one made, I could get the grip made slightly longer, although I'm not a big fan of making saber grips too long. The handling is thrown off a little bit. I can get it in there. This is a medium-sized glove. It just about fits. I've done some moulinettes or parades, if you like, and it's working okay. But, and here's the big but, when you have these overlapping plates that stick out, they will jam and get stuck on your quillen. And as your grip shifts and changes in the fight, you will find these plates doing this, coming out and getting stuck on the outside. That is going to be annoying. In that regard, I think it's a shame that the heavy Neyman glove doesn't have the sort of solid one-piece fingers that the light-fingered version does. The light-fingered version would obviously work a lot better for these sabers, but then these sabers can deliver the kind of hitting power that the longswords do. So ideally you want something with longsword level of protection. So I'm going to give this a shot and see how it goes, but that's sort of not sure at the moment until I've done a load of sparring with it. So it might work, it might not, we'll see. Show a few other sabers. This is my Wojciech Szanek, sort of Shamshir inspired British infantry sword, and it has a little bit more room, and that I think I'm going to have a little bit more success with. The shape of the guard just works a little bit better. So yeah, you'll probably see me using these gloves with this sword quite a bit in the next few weeks or months, and see how that goes. But that is actually feeling a lot better, so that's a good thing. Now, as you can see, the thumb does stick up. You're going to have this issue. Heavy gloves with large thumb protection will always have that issue, and you'll see it with the long sword's potential getting hit on the thumb. That's, to be honest, unavoidable unless you start extending the hilt to ridiculous lengths. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. And then on to bolt-hilted sabers. This is our club standard Peter Regeni saber, which unfortunately he no longer makes, but it's sort of equivalent to the strong saber that he makes now, roughly. And no, it isn't really possible to get in there. And the reason is because the thumb is so huge, and when you've got a bowl guard on, there's no space for that thumb to rise up. over the top of the tang shoulder. And of course, with this kind of saber, most people, well, a lot of people, want to put the thumb on the back strap, and you definitely won't be able to do that. But yeah, the strong saber he produces is a little bit longer on the hilt, so you might be able to get the glove in. You're still not going to be able to thumb the back strap. So if you want to use this with these sabers, no, it's not going to work. Will the light-fingered model work? Maybe, but it still has the big thumb. So I would say probably not. I'd have to check that and see. Right, have I got any other thoughts on it? One of the things I've seen people criticise the Konings for is that they can easily fly off when you fight, and that's because they're quite loose-fitting. Again, I need to see the new version, the new black slimline one, because that could change things completely. Being that much more slimline, it likely is going to stay on the hand a lot better. But yes, I can throw this one off my hand, and I can't do the same with this one. And on that note, it's, of course, then a nuisance to get on and off as well. So it's both a good and a bad thing all at once. So yeah, you've got this separate inner glove, which is a nice material. It feels really soft. It's almost like chamois. Might even be chamois. And it's stitched into the thumb. In fact, stitched into all of them. Stitched in all the way. It seems comfortable. It's got a good grip. At the moment, out of the box, this is feeling like it's got much better grip than the Koning. But again, the issue I have with the Koning at the moment is that it's so wide that it kind of separates my fingers apart. It's wide because there's too much fabric, and then the tip protectors kind of stretch my fingers out. So not exactly a fair comparison putting the two together. Of course, with this design with the open plates, there's a bit more risk from thrusting and broken blades and things like that. That's the kind of goes without saying. And I think the side of the index finger might be an issue for some, because again, it doesn't have these rounded plates that come around to give that sort of side protection to the fingers like the Konings do. So my feeling on it at the moment is that the Koning is going to be superior in terms of protection, no doubt about it. I think this is a massive step up in protection from, say, red dragon gloves, but it's not going to give you the protection of mittens, of course not, and it's not going to be quite the level of the Koning glove. But it makes up for that in being a lot more slimline and a hell of a lot lighter. So which I prefer is going to be interesting over time. I'd probably still edge towards the Koning glove. I think it's going to be the slightly better glove. But these have a lot going for them. And I'm quite tempted to try the light finger model, because I think the light finger personally, particularly with a fingertip protector in the index and little finger, pinky finger, might work really well for those sabers that I've got. So I might give this the light fingered model a shot as well. So there you go, it's my first impression video. I'm going to do some sparring with these, see how they go, see what I think of them, and I will get back to you with my feelings as we go. And I'll also talk about the new Koning glove as soon as it arrives, which should be quite soon. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.